The 1959 to 1960 eruption of Kilauea started with beauty and spectacle, but ended with tragedy and destruction. It showed how quickly the volcano can change and how important it is for people to be prepared for volcanic hazards. This is true outside Hawaii, too. Millions of people live near active volcanoes worldwide. To prepare for future eruptions, scientists study past eruptions to find patterns in the volcano's behavior. Although the Hawaiian Volcano Observatory collected excellent data in 1959, questions remain about the Kilauea Iki eruption. 50 years later, a new team of researchers thinks the answers to those questions are buried in the Tephra. What is Tephra?
Tephra.
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 Oh, Tephra. Tephra down the knickers. It's an Icelandic word. Tephra is anything falling out of a fountain or an eruption.
The 1959 eruption was one of the most explosive eruptions in Kilauea's history. Bruce, Sarah, and Dawn are trying to find out why. Like detectives, these volcanologists search for clues in the rocks deposited by the lava fountains.
We need to look inside the deposits in detail, because the changes in the fountain with time are preserved in the changes in the nature of the material that is erupted in the fountain.
They describe the layers of tephra, logging every centimeter. They collect samples from specific layers.
We try and characterize just 1 or 2 minutes of fountaining activity by sampling over a narrow range.
Then they take the samples to the lab for a closer look. The microscopic textures of the rocks show the conditions in the magma just before it came out of the ground. Magma is a mixture of liquid, bubbles, and solid bits such as crystals and rock fragments. After the magma leaves the ground and becomes lava, the liquid part hardens into glass, which holds the bubbles in rigid shapes.
We can see that the fountains have left their characteristic signatures on the particles themselves. These types of particles here, you can see they're golden in color. We call these golden pumice. And when we look at these in detail under the microscope, we can see that they're chock full of bubbles. They're very frothy particle types. On the other hand, we have these very shiny black particle types. So these look very different, and we interpret that these form with very different trajectories through the lava fountain.
Combining their new observations with data from the past 50 years, the team can reconstruct the Kilauea Iki eruption from the magma's point of view. How did the lava fountains get so tall? The answer is bubbles. Lots and lots of bubbles. Deep underground, at high pressure, gases remain dissolved in the magma. As the magma rises to shallower levels, it experiences a drop in pressure similar to the drop in pressure caused by opening a bottle of soda. That drop in pressure causes bubbles to form in the magma. When the magma is a few hundred feet below the surface, a large enough drop in pressure can trigger a huge number of tiny bubbles to form, turning the magma into a foam that is suddenly much less dense than the rock around it. The foam accelerates upward and exits the vent at nearly the speed of a jet plane. The tallest fountains had the most bubbles and reached the highest speeds. By comparing their samples to photos, measurements, written accounts, and film footage from 1959, Bruce, Sarah, and Dawn can link specific rock textures to specific processes in the magma. This provides a useful guide for studying other eruptions whose products aren't so well preserved, including much older eruptions that were not measured or photographed. The result is a more complete record of Kilauea's eruptive history. The better we understand what the volcano has done in the past, the better we can estimate what it will do in the future. And that will help residents prepare for the hazards they're likely to face.
There are basically 3 types of hazards that I'm most concerned with here in Hawaii County due to the volcano. First of which is earthquakes. The second one that concerns myself is basically lava flows.
Since 1960, lava flows from Kilauea have destroyed or threatened populated areas several more times.
I was a young fireman working when the current Pu'uo eruption started and inundated Kalapana village. That was quite a sad thing to see. You know, it was really a disaster in slow motion, how this lava flow came out and just wiped out home after home after home after home.
In most cases, officials chose not to build barriers. Examples from volcanoes in Hawaii and elsewhere show that efforts to divert lava flows almost always fail and can even create new problems.
Lava flow diversion is a touchy situation. Here in Hawaii, we worry about cultural issues because the land's sacred to me too. And there's a lot of people that don't want us touching the lava. And there's also the legal part. If we divert lava in one direction and it destroys property, how responsible are we for having caused that?
The proper response for this volcanic hazard is the same today as it was for the ancient Hawaiians. When Pele sends lava flows, the best thing to do is get out of the way. The third volcanic hazard is affecting people in Hawaii right now. In March 2008, an explosion opened a new vent in the wall of Halema'uma'u, the crater at the summit of Kilauea. Local residents suddenly had to deal with high levels of sulfur dioxide gas.
Sulfur dioxide is an irritant, not a very healthy thing to breathe for a long period of time. And it is of significant concern to downwind communities because we're at levels that no one historically has experienced.
The gas emissions have decreased since 2008, but the vent still contains an active lava lake.
The sulfur dioxide emissions at the present moment is not causing any acute problems, but we realize that that can change in any time.
The three main volcanic hazards, earthquakes, lava flows, and gas emissions, are beyond human control. People can't stop them or steer them away, but they can take steps to be prepared. They can put together emergency plans and kits of supplies, and they can watch for updates from experts monitoring the hazards.
So our main mission at this point is a congressionally mandated mission to monitor volcanoes in Hawaii state. There are 6 of them that are considered active. On this island above sea level, it's Kilauea, Mauna Loa, Hualalai, Mauna Kea, Loihi below the surface, and Haleakala on Maui.
Kilauea is the most active of these volcanoes. Modern volcano monitoring uses many more tools and techniques than in 1959.
In the 1959 Kilauea eruption, it was very well documented visually. We still put a heavy emphasis on visual monitoring of the eruptions, but the benefit now is that we have all of this new technology. The camera systems now are completely digital, and to monitor the current eruption that you see just over my shoulder here, we brought together a whole bunch of different camera systems. We have an automated time-lapse system which takes a high-resolution snapshot every minute, and that's the one that you can see right here. We also have a high frame rate, low-light camera, so it can really capture the explosive events, the really dynamic events that we've been observing.
In the years that I have worked on volcanoes, on Kilauea in particular, a lot of new technologies have come into use that have really helped, like thermal imaging.
The thermal cameras have been very useful in the summit vent. They can see through volcanic fume like it's not there. So we can see changes in lava level, we can see spattering, things that you just can't see with the human eye. We also have a webcam system that is imaging the vent every few minutes, and these images are immediately sent to the public website so the public can view.
We look at satellite data now on a daily basis. Our tilt meter and GPS receiver network can show us changes in ground shape and orientation.
But there's no replacement for boots on the ground, so we go out by helicopter, we go out on foot. We collect samples of the lava coming out of the vent, and the geochemical signature of the lava gives us insight into the magnetic plumbing system.
After 50 years of advances in research and technology, can today's scientists predict what the volcano will do? Not really. Just as in 1959, scientists can tell where an eruption is likely to happen, but not exactly when it will start. And just as in 1960, people are powerless to stop lava flows or gas emissions, But scientists can now detect and interpret changes in the volcano with much greater sensitivity and accuracy. And they can communicate that information faster to give people earlier warning about possible dangers. Research on past eruptions, such as Kilauea Iki, and monitoring of current activity can help us prepare for volcanic hazards. But despite our technology, our control over the land is still limited.
This landscape, this volcanic landscape that you see, is Pele's home, and she is the one really in control. And we as people have to respect that.